Now that it's officially been released, there are a lot of people interested in the Samsung Gear 360 2017. However, there are also a lot of Gear 360 2016 users who are wondering, is it worth upgrading? Many of you have seen my previous comparison video where I show you the actual 4K video that each of these produce and show them side by side. In this video, I'm going to try to fill in all the gaps and compare all the most important things that differ between these two cameras. With the 2017 Gear 360, they've chosen to go with a smaller design and it's a much thinner camera. This means that this camera is now pocketable. You can put it in your pocket, you can take it around with you, and it's very easy to do so. This thing is just too big and it makes it hard to take the camera around with you everywhere you go, unless you bring another designated bag or if you hold it in your hand, which is a bit of a nuisance. This is actually a really big factor because ultimately it means you're taking the camera out a lot more because you know it's not going to take up too much space and you'll end up getting 5 times as many photos and videos just from the pure fact that it's portable. To me, this is a massive win for the 2017 camera. One thing I do miss about the 2016 camera is the legs. It's really handy having a mini tripod at the bottom of your camera that you can just fold out like that, and it's going to keep the camera really steady on any surface. It's not going to blow over in the wind. Whereas with the 2017, I do worry all the time that it is going to blow over, the lens is going to get damaged. So I need to be extra careful with this, whereas I don't with the 2016. So in terms of design, they each have one major advantage. One of the biggest issues Gear 360 users have is the camera overheating. The 2016 is notorious for it. If you record 4K video for longer than about 20 minutes, the camera generally overheats, it fogs up the lenses. You'll notice in my Vlogin 360, which is my last video, I was shooting footage at the Sydney Opera House, and because the sun was quite strong, after about 5 minutes, one of the lenses fogged up and it ruined one side of the footage. That is really not good. I have noticed a huge improvement with the 2017. I rolled this camera for 1 hour and 20 minutes, as you'll see in my previous review of this camera, and it kept going. It did not overheat. The battery did run out, but it didn't actually overheat, and I've not heard of the lenses fogging up either. So in terms of overheating issues, Samsung have improved it, and the 2017 is a better camera for overheating. This brings me to batteries. Look, the batteries last roughly the same amount of time depending on what you're doing, so this isn't a deciding factor. However, what is the ergonomics of it. So the new camera has an inbuilt battery, whereas the old one, you can take them out and replace them. This isn't an issue for me personally, but I know it is for a lot of people, which is why I'm including it in this comparison. It's just a big advantage with any camera to be able to change the batteries whenever they're flat and not have to go home and charge them. Look, I do use power banks. I always bring 4 power banks with me whenever I'm going out shooting, so I can just charge it while I'm having my lunch or having a coffee or whatever. But it is very handy being able to change the batteries around. I don't. I've only got one Gear 360 2016 battery, and I can go out shooting for 2 hours or so, and it's enough. So if you do plan on going out shooting for a really long time, then this is probably going to be the better camera, unless you want to keep recharging this through power banks. Next is video stabilization. Samsung have added basic inbuilt stabilization in the 2017 model, and it's one of the bigger differentiation points you'll see in my last comparison, that this footage looks much more stable than this because of that. So if you plan on doing a lot of handheld work, then this is going to be the better camera. Another cool feature they added with the 2017 is the ability to do super slow motion. You can do 120 frames a second at 1440 by 720, which is really low res, but it is 120 frames a second in 360, so that's pretty cool for a $200 and something camera. The 2016 can do 60 frames a second, however, I just see no point to this. You don't need 60 frames a second. If you want to do slow motion, you want to make it slow enough to be noticeable, so this is an upgrade in the slow motion, however, the resolution is low. Next, we have the all-important stitching, and if you saw my 2017 camera review, you'll know that it still has major stitching issues. It tries to adjust the stitch as you walk around the camera, which is a major error from Samsung because it makes your footage almost look like it's shaking as it's adjusting to how close you are to the camera. I really hope they fix this. So that automatically means that the 2016 camera is better until this one is fixed. Look, I really hope it happens. I don't know if it will. Samsung are very unresponsive to their users' feedback, so I wouldn't expect this to be fixed anytime soon. Look, this camera works fine handheld, but if you are going to place it on a tripod or on a table, then you probably will experience this parallax issue. The 2016 camera, the stitching isn't perfect compared to most other cameras. However, compared to this camera, this has the better stitching. Speaking of stitching, with the release of the new camera, Mac users, you now have the ability to stitch on your Mac. They've released the Gear 360 program that allows you to do so. So if you are a Mac user, then you'll definitely want to go with this camera. I'm not going to compare the video resolutions because I already did in the last video. They are both 4K. However, what I will say from dealing with them in a wide range of post-production situations is that the 2016 version is much easier to edit in Premiere and Insta360 Studio. This is purely because it's a lower resolution camera. Yes, it's maybe 200 pixels lower, but it makes the workflow faster, obviously. I mean, obviously that's just a basic rule of photography and video. The lower the resolution, the faster the programs will respond. But even though this is a small difference, it makes a big difference in the speed of rendering, exporting, and whatnot. Look, it's still absolutely usable with the over 4K, whereas this is just under 4K. But you will be spending more time in front of the computer with this one than you will this one. Speaking of resolution, the number one complaint about the 2017 camera is that it's a significant drop in resolution from the previous model. Look, I know this is really annoying, and I can probably see why they've done it because it's a smaller camera, and with small cameras, it's hard to get a lot of resolution. So I can see why they've done it. Ultimately, you'll just have to think about where your photos are going to end up. If it's only for social media, say Instagram, Facebook, then this actually does have enough resolution to display good-looking 360 photos. Yes, this has a lot more, but you don't often need that. Like for photos on Instagram, yes, it's nice having those extra pixels on Facebook, definitely. But if it's just social media, then I think you should be able to get away with this. It's only when you want to publish them professionally or on Google Street View or whatever that those extra thousands of pixels do make a difference, and that's where you will want to go with this. However, if you are shooting professionally, then you really shouldn't be buying Gear 360 cameras. You should really go for the next level up, maybe even shooting on a DSLR if you really want super high resolution 360 photos. Another major advantage to the new camera is it is now compatible across way more devices, including iPhone. And as far as I know, more than 50%, maybe even 70% of photographers are on iPhone. So this now opens up a huge new market to iPhone users, and if you have an iPhone and that's your only phone, then this is the only option for you. You've got no choice. Just forget about this. This was never invented. This is the only option. So go for it and it'll be a good camera for you. It's iPhone friendly and Android friendly, as well as a few others. It still does have a few limitations. Essentially, the newer the phone, the more compatible it's going to be. Yes, I think like the iPhone 6 is compatible technically, but it just isn't fast enough for a lot of the functions that the camera needs. So really, no matter which 360 camera you have, the faster your phone and computer are, the faster your workflow is going to be. Something I really like about the 2017 model is we now have the option to shoot a landscape HDR model. Yes, both cameras have basic HDR ability. That's when the camera tries to capture the best shadows and the best highlights possible by trying to get an even dynamic range within one photo. However, traditionally, HDR photography is done with anywhere from 3 to 10 separate images and combined together to get the perfect exposure. With the 2017 camera, you can now do that with 3 photos. It takes them simultaneously and blends them together. The only issue is you can't do this and take it because it's going to take about 5 seconds, and if you move the camera even slightly, it will make it blurry. Therefore, this is more for like interiors of houses and landscapes. But personally, dynamic range is one of the top things I look for in a camera, and this has good dynamic range. So again, this is another tick for the 2017.
Speaking of exposure, this is what both cameras look like when a photo is taken in auto exposure mode. They look more or less the same, right? Yes, they do, but there is one massive difference, and that is the lens flare and how each camera handles the sun. You'll notice that the 2016 has a huge lens flare with many waves across one whole hemisphere of the lens. This is very annoying and has always frustrated me. They've clearly made a big improvement with the new camera, and the sun is handled really well. Yes, there is still a flare, but it's vastly improved. This is essentially to do with the shape of the lenses. The 2016's is big and bulging, whereas the 2017 2017's is much flatter and less likely to get a flare. Next we have low light performance, and here is the footage taken straight out of the camera from each. The 2016 has an f2.0 aperture, whereas the 2017's is f2.2. It doesn't seem like a lot, but there's a big difference here. The colors and contrast are much nicer on the right. When I do a quick color grade, they are now looking much more even. However, the 2016 still looks better, so I'm going to declare it the winner for now. One thing worth adding is that neither of these cameras is going to be particularly good in really low light. This is more or less the darkest you can shoot in with either camera.
Next we have live streaming. Previously we weren't able to do it, but now with the 2017 camera, you can live stream to your heart's content. Keep in mind that you do need a fast internet connection, you need a fast computer, or a fast mobile to really get a good live stream. If you're using older devices, you're going to have a lot of difficulty. However, it live streams, so that is an advantage over this. Also, don't forget that the new one looks like a robot's genitalia. That's a pretty big selling feature because you'll be the life of the party when you whip this thing out and say, hey, look at my robot dick. One of the biggest talking points from my last comparison was the sound ability. A lot of people said that the 2016 version sounded better than the 2017. So now I'm going to do a test in a controlled environment and we'll see which one sounds better for sound recording. Okay, I've got the self-timer activated, another good feature of both. Okay, testing sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How does it sound? Which camera is better? In my personal opinion, they sound more or less the same, and that is average at best. You should not be using a 360 camera if you want to record professional sound. You need to get a proper sound recorder. So these are going to do an okay job, but if you do want to record professional sound, get a Zoom sound recorder or something else. You can't be recording sound on these two. They'll record basic sound, but nothing amazing. The very final factor is the price, and they're both very affordable cameras. The 2016 is crazy cheap. It's $180 last time I checked on Amazon. This one is $230 at the moment. However, both of those could change any minute, so you'll definitely want to double check Amazon at the time of viewing this video. I'll put links down in the description to where you can find these the cheapest. Being an owner of both of these cameras, I'm going to continue using them both more or less equally depending on what I'm shooting. They each have a time and a place, I think, and because they are affordable cameras, I don't mind having both of them. After using both of these cameras for quite a while now, I can tell you that these things on either side of me are the points where they differ the most. So you need to ask yourself, which of these are more important to me? What kind of stuff do I shoot? And what do I need from a 360 camera? Alright guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more in-depth reviews, comparisons, tutorials, tiny planets, madness. It's all here at Life in 360, and I can't wait to show you guys all the awesome stuff that we're working on. Until next time, keep capturing your world in 360, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook. I'm on Instagram and Twitter as well. Come on guys, there's no need to fight. I love you both equally. Not. Bye.